Hello. Can you hear me? All right. Can you hear me? Just bear with us for a minute. We're trying to get ready here. If anybody's watching, which I don't think anybody is, basically what we're gonna do is, sorry about that, is an interpretation of one of, oh my gosh, a Bible verse that I actually just was reading today, and I wrote something on it, kind of how, kind of the process I go through whenever I read Bible verses, say the least. And I just start by saying this. I think this is important to understand. I didn't read a Bible once in my life until about 2 years ago. Picked it up, and I mean, it was. I mean, I think at that time I would say that I definitely looked at it different than most people at that time. But I think that the way that I started to read them is interesting. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I feel like it's important for people to look at different perspectives, you know? And that's all I try to bring to it is a different perspective to something that I know what it's like to think that the Bible is just, man-made and practices hate and wrath and vengeance and all this. And I never picked it up. I took other people's opinions. I took other people's interpretations. I never sat there, read it, thought about it, contemplated it, applied it to my life, and I never really took the time to see what it was about. I think that that's the biggest thing that I can say is that if you don't believe in it or you don't understand it, pick it up, read it. Don't ask for other people to tell you what it means. You tell yourself what it means. Figure it out. There's no wrong answer. I mean, the thing is that most people don't realize is that, especially with Hebrew and Greek languages, is that they had a lot less words. It's kind of like Japanese and their characters and how they work. It's like one character means one thing, but when you join two of them together, it's a compound character that makes a completely different meaning sometimes. And then they have almost like I can't think, vernacular type nomenclature. It's where a word means something, but it figuratively means another thing, just because of the time. So yeah, there's so many different meanings when you start to read through the words. I suggest using an interlinear Bible. The one I have on screen is studylight.org. If you go about halfway down the page, you'll see it says study the interlinear Bible. You can just pick a chapter in a book. It's pretty nice. Something that's cool that I like a lot is, let's say, go at the beginning. You can click on it. And then from my internet is super slow, by the way, so deal with that, sorry. So when you click on it, it gives you all the original definitions of it. So RK, this beginning. And you can actually hear it, which is cool. RK. So yeah, it means beginning or origin. Some of the other possible meanings, though, are the extremity of a thing, of the corners of a sail. Something I found interesting with that is, imagine dragons, the master of my own sail, the extremity of a thing, of the corners of a sail. So if he was the master of his own sail, he was the master of his own arche, or his own beginning. Is that what it means? I don't know. Probably not. But it's interesting. You also have other interpretations. Properly abstract, a commencement or concrete chief in various applications of order, time, place, or rank, beginning, corner at the first estate, magistrate power. principality, principal, rule. So what I gather from that, and I could be completely wrong, is it's basically talking about the first in the line of succession. You know, that's why the magistrate idea comes into play. Power, principality, like the king, and then below him is, I honestly don't know what's below the kings in those orders, but serfs, lords, nobles, those types of things. Chief is actually a weird thing to see in here. Assume it's Native American. So yeah, and actually you can see where the root also comes from. So C756 to be the first to do, to be chief leader ruler, to begin, make a beginning. And that's Arkomai. Let's look at that. Arkomai. To be the first to do anything. So that could also be interpreted as being the first of, which is an interesting concept. Anyway, so that's each one of these words can be interpreted that way. And for instance, logos, I mean, it's for word. And now you gotta understand is there's a word for like words, and logos is not that word. So for instance, I took some note. Logos was first used in says 600 BC to describe the coordinating plan during the time of change. This could also take the shape of a changing of the age, times, or rule. If you recall, RK can be translated as the first in a series or the beginning, but in a way that emphasizes that it is dynamic rather than static, meaning that something comes after it, referring to the eventual change from the original logos to a different logos after either in time or after a certain event. So maybe one could interpret that the logos concept is actually something that is a cycle, and there are multiple cycles. And again, these are just things to think about. This is probably not the exact way I would interpret it. I'd read through a whole book and then I'd reread before I did something like this. But the general concept is still kind of the same. Just look into it. 9 times out of 10, your intuition is going to be way better than what someone else can tell you. That much truly believe. Let's see here. So I thought this was interesting as well. Theos and Theon, God and God, although they are differently spelled. Just an idea. Really? Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. All right. So 2, he was in the beginning with, and Thon is them. Theon again is God. All things through him emerged, and without him emerged not even one thing that has emerged. So through this beginning, which is God, emerged all things. And him life was, and the life was the light in him of men. So verse 5, and the light in the darkness shines, and the darkness did not overcame. It didn't overcome. You know, I want to look at this one. I haven't looked at it yet. I have a hunch that this might have to lay hold of, so as to make one's own to obtain. So it did not attain darkness. So it did not to take possession of darkness. Of evils overtaking one, of the last day, overtaking the wicked with destruction, of a demon about to torment one. So the light, that's a tough one. So the light did not take possession of the evils overtaking one. or the demon about to torment one. And then has another meaning, in a good sense of Christ by his holy power and influence laying hold of the human mind and will in order to prompt and govern it. So the light did not overtake the darkness. And in a good sense, it could mean that the light did not overtake the darkness. Okay, so the light did not possess, we'll go with number 2 at this moment. It did not influence the human mind and will in order to prompt and govern it. So, in the beginning, the light did not possess the mind of man to catch, to lay hold of with the mind. It also did not detect or catch, didn't trap the mind of Christ to understand, perceive, learn, comprehend. So it didn't understand it, the darkness. It's actually interesting, I like that. The darkness it not understood. There was a man having been sent from God, named to him John. So, or Johannes, is how it says there. Johannes, which is actually interesting. Let's see. He came as a witness that he might testify concerning the light, that all might believe through him. And again, I still like this one too. So I think it's important to determine what light is. It says photos. That's cool. Phos. Like light emitted by a lamp. So that could also be interpreted as, this is interesting. I like this part. A star. Oopsie daisy. And I do not like this one right now. I'll tell you what, I'm sorry that my, here we go. So a heavenly light, such as surrounds angels when they appear on earth. So if you ever seen the icons and the pictures and everything, they always have that light around them. That is seems talking about the light or the Phos. It's like Star Wars, the Force. Kind of weird. Anything emitting light. That is honestly weird that the definition contains the definition down the line. Anything emitting light, a star, fire because it is light and sheds light. A lamp or torch, and they all always talk about lamps. Light, i.e. brightness of a lamp. You know, an anchorman really loved a lamp. He said so. Metaphor, God is light because light has the extremely delicate, subtle, pure, brilliant quality of truth and its knowledge, together with the spiritual purity associated with it, that which is exposed to the view of all, openly, publicly. Reason or mind, the power of understanding, especially moral and spiritual truth, and all that one. So basically, an enlightened person could be interpreted through the D1, which is the power of understanding, enlightenment, reason and mind. That which is exposed to the view of all, that's the light, the truth and its knowledge, together with the spiritual purity associated with it, light in a pure sense, so like virtuous light. And then obviously God is light, like the pure light. So yeah, highly recommend this. It's studylight.org. so that all might believe through him. So he had what we've gathered from this, he could have had the God, the qualities of God, the pureness of God, the virtue of God, the truth of God, the knowledge of God, so that all might believe through him. And this is another thing. It's like, who's to say that these words aren't all of those? And that's something that you have to decide on your own. He came as a witness. Also, look into Jehovah's Witness if you're not someone who's looked into them, because you have some stereotype. I will tell you this. I always thought of, before I did my own research, I thought of Jehovah and all this as being like a completely different religion. And I had no idea that every religion, for the most part, Judeo-Christian, talks about Jehovah and Jehovah. It's not that he doesn't exist. I mean, he's in both religions, or all religions that deal with it. I thought Jehovah's Witnesses were literally a completely different religion. I had no idea until I looked it up myself. They actually came around, I think, in the 1800s. I'm not going to get into specifics, but there was a man that had an enlightening experience, a spiritual awakening, and he was a witness to the force that came to him and told him the things they told him. One instance is that he was able to obviously speak differently and understand things differently, much like John. So anyways, not was he the light. So he wasn't God, he wasn't truth, he wasn't virtue, he wasn't all these things. But it did exist in him, even if just for a moment, so that he might witness concerning the light. Was the light to have that been on? I'll have to look that one up later. True, that which enlightens. There we see enlightens every man coming into the world. And again, world is not world. Cosmon is more like universe, understanding, way more meaning. In the world he was, in the world through him emerged. So again, world is also thought, mind, reasoning, logic, imagination, anything that is like figurative or intangible within your mind. So in the intangible metaphysical of his mind, he was, in the metaphysical of his mind, through him emerged. In the metaphysical of the mind, him not knew. So he didn't know it, but it came through him. And also, I don't think "new" is what it actually means. I think that it's more like a "do," like in Spanish, like conozco, like was acquainted with, to learn, to know, come to know, get knowledge. Yeah, perceive, feel, to become known, to know. He didn't need it. Oh man, it's a Jewish idiom for sexual intercourse. So he was not union with it. A man and a woman to become acquainted with, to know. What else we got? Ooh, actually, you could actually read this in this way too. In the metaphysical mind, he was, and the metaphysical mind through him emerged, and the metaphysical him had not known. So what emerged, he didn't know, or didn't understand. It was something new. So his world that came through him was different than what he had actually grown to know around him. So you might be able to say that For the most part, whenever he had his experience, as we'll call it, when he witnessed this light that decided to come through him, he witnessed a world through him emerge in the world and not new, which I personally can say that I don't understand a lot of the world right now. So maybe John just didn't understand the way people were after he was experiencing this. So to the own he came, and the own him not received. Don't understand that. To the own is the probably a good one. What are some of these? He didn't belong to himself. Ideas. It's kind of like ideas. Ideas of uncertain affinity. Let's see what Strong says about it. Pertaining to self, that is, one's own identification, private or separate, his acquaintance when they were alone, part aside to his own purpose. So it's your separation from one. So to the separation he came, and the separation of him not received. Idia. So to the self he came. Well, it could be like an ego or not. And the self, I think it's important to notice that this is idioi and idia. So masculine plural. They're both plural, ambiguous. So we might be able to say that it's not a definite answer as to who they're talking about. It's self, he came, which he wasn't acquainted with, or self's plural, and now this one is masculine plural, so he seems to have identified it, him not received. Let's get over. He gave to them authority. I see. To the self he came, and the own him not received. So basically, as many as however received him, he gave them authority. If the light took hold, kind of like if the seed took hold, and from it grew and was sown fruits to which might be good, the authority children of God to be to those believing on the name of him. So if you believe in his name, then they were given. And authority is more of like a stature, I believe. Who not of blood, nor of will of flesh, nor of will of man, but of God were born. So these people are people that they don't have the blood. We would say they're not descendant, just as they are not any will of flesh. So it was only by the will of God that they were born. So God willed it. It wasn't that they willed it. It wasn't that their flesh willed it. It wasn't that they were of, I would say, that royal blood that they wielded. It was simply that God, I would assume, preordained it. Also notice the OU instead of N and OS, which is also interesting because you have Eon, EOS, and EO, EOU. Anyways, and here's that logos again. Flesh became and dwelt among. So, and it's a weird word, sarx. I've never ever seen those letters. X is usually a CH, like Christ. Flesh, the soft substance of the living body. Yeah, which covers the bones and is permeated with blood. Oh no.